Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 update 1.48. So in this video of update 1.48, I'm going to take you through a full event guide and show you what's on offer and how to beat all 4 of the new events which came with update 1.48. So let's get started with event number 1 of 4. This is going to be the Japanese FF Challenge 450 over at Autopolis International Racing Course, and this does take place on the short layout. Now it's obvious which car this is aiming towards. It's aiming at the brand new Civic EG, which came with this update. So it's going to be a 2-lap race with 8 cars on the grid. Must be a road car from Japan with an FF drivetrain layout. First place is going to net you 25k with that 50% bonus on top, so payout not too bad for such a short race. Your typical rival cars are going to be the likes of the Type R Civics as well as the Type R Integras. BOP and tuning is off, garage car is on, and the car settings are allowed. There is no such thing as shortcuts or war collision penalties here, and obviously with it being a short layout there's going to be no tyre or fuel usage either. Now in terms of the event itself, it's only an 8-car grid including yourself. However, there is a rather big performance gap between this entire grid. So to start off with, you may absolutely blast past all of the vehicles. Now obviously as usual I'll be using the hardest difficulty as well as keeping my car sort of in line with that PP recommendation or set limit. Now once you start making your way towards the front of the grid, it's pretty much a bundle of different Honda generations. Now you do have a few EG Civics mixed in there. Again, they're kind of running in their own little battle. However, up front you will have the main 2 cars that may cause you a few issues on the higher difficulties, those being the Integra Type R and the EK Civic Type R. These are relatively quick vehicles, very much suited to this track layout, so just be aware of that there is rather quite a spread of performance overall. Now we're going to make our move finally on the last corner of the last lap. We're going to try and throw it around the outside of the EK Civic. Unfortunately we don't get that one pulled off on the switchback, but we are then going to try and outrun the EK, which we just managed to do, only just taking the win. A fairly awesome race to get us started off for the first races of update 1.48. Now in terms of times taken, this is a 2 minute 55.747 with a fastest lap on that second lap of a 1 minute 29.394. Again, in terms of the payout, not too bad for such a short race, 37,500 credits with first place and that clean race bonus added on. So overall, what did I think of the first event of update 1.48? Well, I rather quite liked it. If you know me by now, you'll know I'm a massive Honda fanboy, so to have these battles with all different generations of, you know, Type Rs, now the EG Civic and such, I just really enjoyed this race. Again, very short, you don't have to worry about tyres or anything like that. Bit of a shame that it is only 2 laps. I feel like a 5-lap race would have been pretty much the sweet spot for all of these vehicles, and again it is a bit of a shame that it suffers from that very obvious spread in terms of performance. You'll have things such as the Priuses and the Honda Fits and such really far back, then you've got the EGs in their own little battle, and then up front you've obviously got the Type R vehicles. So it is a bit of a shame that it's not, I guess, closer overall. But if you get the sweet spot for the EG and things like that, you can probably have a very decent battle up front. Let's move on to event number 2. This is the European Sunday Cup 400 over at Kyoto Driving Park. Very samey to the prior event that we've just run. As you can see, it's going to be a 2-lap race, 8 cars on the grid. Road car obviously has to be from Europe this time and not Japan. First place is going to be 25k plus that 50% clean race bonus. So again, same payout as before. Your main rival cars are going to be the likes of the Alfa Romeo Mito, Mini Cooper S, RCZ GT line and Polo GTI. BOP and tuning is off. The car used is garage car. Car settings are allowed. Things such as mechanical damage, shortcut and wall collision are completely, once again, turned off for this event. So obviously with this again being a short event with a 2-lap sprint, we're not worrying about tyre life or fuel usage or anything like that. It's set on a rather heavier layout overall, so it's going to take you a little bit longer to get this done. Now obviously I had to go for the Volvo 240 SE. I absolutely love this car. I think it looks absolutely bizarre and ridiculous out on track. and it's actually a fair bit of a drift weapon if you're running these comfort tyres. Again, you're going to need to put a fair amount of performance upgrades if you do want to sort of match that limit. Around about 400 to 450 should be able to do it in this car without any major tuning overhauls. Now, in terms of the AI themselves, whilst it's definitely not as spread out as the FF Challenge, there is still a fair bit of spread amongst the AI vehicles. So again, right towards the back, you've got some of the much slower vehicles. Then you've got the likes of another 240 SE racing as well, and then you do have the sort of T5 redesign, which is going to be right up front. As you can see here, it was battling away with a 208 for me. So in terms of the main highlight cars, it's probably going to be the Volvo that's going to give you the most, I guess, headache if you end up struggling with this event, but it is beatable in pretty much anything. Again, it's purely just a recommendation for the PP limit, but if you do want to get the most out of the event, I do recommend tuning around about 400 to 450 to get the most enjoyment out of this one. We're going to take first place relatively easily, a little bit lengthier this time in terms of our overall time taken. It was a 4 minutes 14.769 with a fastest lap on that final lap of a 2 minute 7.012. So again, a little bit longer in length than the FF Challenge, but still a relatively short event. And again, in terms of the payout, it's going to be 37,500 credits with first place and that clean race bonus. So overall, event number 2 of the bunch, I had a lot of fun with this, and I think it's just mainly down to the actual car usage itself. If you're using one of the new Volvos, you're probably going to have an absolute blast here. I do fully recommend taking the 240. It's an absolute ridiculous car, just hoofing around this big old Swedish tank as well as getting it out and sideways. It just makes the event overall much more fun. But again, a relatively short event overall, and I do feel like spreading it out to maybe 5 laps with a few more AI, maybe anything from up to 10 to 12 AI would have just made it that bit better overall. But again, I really cannot complain. I had a blast with the Volvo in this one, and I think you guys probably will too. So let's move on to event number 3. This is the Japanese FR Challenge at 450 over at Lake Maggiore West. As you can see, a little bit better in terms of the overall payout. If you get the clean race bonus, you're going to get 50% on top of that. So it's a little bit lengthier as well. So it's going to be 3 laps, 8 vehicles once again, a road car from Japan. FR layout, 40k plus 50% with that clean race bonus. In terms of your main rivals, you've got the likes of the Levin, Uranus, Skyline GTS R, and the Roadster S. In terms of BOP, that is off. Garage car settings are allowed. Mechanical damage this time is on light, and once again the shortcuts and penalties are completely turned off. So of course I went to use the brand new R31 Skyline. Now in terms of the performance of the vehicles that you're up against here, it's very much a mixed bag. The majority of them are very easy to overtake at the PP level if you build around that. However, just take note of the Silvia K's that's up in front. If you do end up with this goldy coloured car in your race, it's definitely a bit of a cheating AI situation. That thing is seriously quick and will absolutely make its way through the grid in pretty much no time, and then go on to take a massive lead over the rest of them. So as long as you're staying with that Silvia K's, you should be pretty much golden for the win. You do want to put a bit extra performance into your car. I recommend maybe up to 500 pp, because that Silvia is definitely not running at the recommendation. It is seriously quick. We did end up pulling a relatively easy win in the end though, after a decent battle on that final lap. Again, we're not worrying about fuel or tyre life. You should get this one done and dusted, no problem. So again, in terms of the event itself, relatively short, 5 minutes 23.190 completion time, with a fastest lap on the final lap of a 1:44. In terms of the payout, of course, it's paying out a little bit more with a bit extra length to it. 60,000 credits for taking first place, with that 50% bonus on top. So event number 3 of the bunch, there's not really much to cover in this one. Again, there's only 8 AI cars, and I do feel like the 3 lap, I guess, lap limit that's put in place for this one was actually quite right for this one. I do feel like anything more would have just overstayed its welcome. It's a bit longer in length, and I do appreciate the fact that that Silvia did give me a very nice battle, but I kind of feel like it's a bit of a Ford GT40 situation from Gran Turismo 2, where the AI does definitely cheat way over that performance limit. There is no way that thing's running at the recommendation, so just keep your eye on that car and you'll probably be in for a very good battle if you do build anywhere from 450 to around about 500 pp. Overall, a fairly decent event and the last of the 3 short events that were put in place for update 1.48. So let's move over to the main meat event of the bunch, which is of course the WTC 800. So as you can see, this one takes place at St. Croix Layout A. It's obviously a WTC 800 event, which means that that PP limit is set in stone, 200,000 credits plus clean race bonus, so a maximum of 300k. It's 8 laps, 20 vehicles, 6 fuel and 6 tyres, all usable racing tyres, 800 pp or less. Your main AI is going to be all of the Group 3 vehicles plus the older generation of GT500 cars. BOP and tuning is off, must be a garage car, car settings are allowed, mechanical damage none, shortcut penalty light, and war collision penalty off. Now, I actually completely forgot this layout existed, but this might be just one of my favourite WTC 800 events. This track suits these cars absolutely down to the ground, and I had an absolute blast using the brand new NSX here. In fact, this is a seriously quick car. Even built up to 800 pp running in fuel mix 6, it goes past the other vehicles like they're just sitting still. Now in terms of the strategy, I do recommend going for the racing softs. The tyre wear here is a bit hit and miss. It can be quite high, but if you're using something like the NSX, it is very controllable even once that wear starts kicking in. Now in terms of the fuel mixers, once you get onto lap 3 to 8, I do recommend balancing between fuel mix 3 and fuel mix 6. Again, don't worry too much, this car will absolutely blast past the AI like they're just standing still. Then when we get to the end of lap 4, I recommend just boxing in at this point, getting yourself a fresh set of softs once again, pretty much copying what the leading car is doing, fill the car to full and then rinse and repeat. This should be a good enough strategy to balance your fuel and balance your tyre life all the way to the end of the race and take a relatively easy win in the end. Now in terms of the AI themselves, there's not really many of them that you have to watch out for. Some of them do seem to be fuel saving and be very good on the fuel in the early stages, and there is a chance that they may jump you during the pit stops. However, in terms of pace during the second stint, they are very slow overall. The main car that you need to keep an eye out on is that Audi R8 GT3 Evo. That thing is seriously quick around here. It will have a massive gap to the rest of the field, so just be sure to keep that thing in your sights. If you get past that car, then you're pretty much on for a relatively easy win. I do find that in terms of its overall pace and performance, it drops off on lap 4 and then once again drops off on lap 8, making it a very easy target in those closing stages of both of its racing stints. As you can see here, we managed to take the lead on lap 7, round the final corner and take the win by balancing that fuel once again by around about 12.5 seconds. Overall, a very enjoyable race on a very enjoyable track layout of St. Croix. In terms of overall completion time, it was a 24 minutes 49 seconds 0.023 with a fastest lap on lap 8 of a 2 minutes 59.271. Now in terms of the payout, I didn't actually get the clean race bonus here. Again, it's very sensitive, so even if you just slightly tap a car, expect to lose that. But that is going to complete all 4 of the new events with update 1.48. Overall, these were fairly enjoyable. However, 3 of them are relatively short overall. However, that new WTC 800 is an absolute joy and a blast to play. Anyway, let me know what you think of the update 1.48 events down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.